All right, so the back squat. The back squat is going to be a knee dominant push exercise. The muscles in the back squat you're going to utilize are the gluteus maximus, the semimembranosus, semitendinosus, the biceps femoris, the vastus lateralis, vastus intermedius, the vastus medialis, and the rectus femoris. So now the starting position for the back squat is going to be the, see here, let's start with the chest and head up. I'm going to start with the elbows up. I'm going to start with my toes pointed slightly out. I'm going to start with my feet shoulder width apart. I'm going to start with my hands in a closed pronated position. I'm going to start with the bar in a high bar position. Personally, there are two bar positions you can choose from, the high or low bar position. The high bar position is going to be at the base of the neck above the posterior deltoids. The hand position is going to be closer for the high bar. The low bar position is going to use wider hands. You're going to rest the bar at the posterior deltoids, at the middle traps, a lot lower from the high bar. I do use the high bar position as you see here. As I go into the downward movement phase, I'm going to initiate the exercise with my hips. Hips are a key starting feature here. I'm allowing flex the knees, keeping the torso to ground angle constant. So I keep this angle constant until I get to the top, where then I extend my hips. But yeah, so I want to keep my weight in the heels, line the knees over the toes. You want to continue flexing the knees and hips until I'm parallel with my quads are parallel to the floor. That's going to be the cue that when you're done with the downward movement phase and it's time for to go up. So you can see I get parallel with my quads there and I stand up. So in that upward movement phase, it's going to be very similar to the downward movement phase. You want to maintain that neutral spine, elbows high, chest and head up. Let's kind of get there. So on the upward movement, extend the hips and knees at the same rate. This is extremely important to keep that torso to floor angle constant. If they go at different rates, it's just your back will go all sorts of different ways. So if you extend them at the same rate, the torso to ground angle will be the same, or it'll be constant. You want to keep the knees aligned over the toes, the heels on the ground. Don't flex the torso around the back. That neutral spine is key. At the end, squat down, put the bar on the supports. So when you're racking and unracking the bar, make sure to not do that with your back. You can see when I take it off, I do a great job of it. I kind of initiate, I cock the hips, cock the knees, I get my back in that nice position, I get my elbows high, my chest and head up, and I stand up. I don't do as well of a job on the putting down. I kind of lean forward. This is not a good position. I want to get my feet back in the right position underneath the supports and to unrack the bar. So that is going to be the back squat, and next is the front squat. So the front squat. The front squat is going to be a knee dominant push exercise, just like the back squat. The front squat's going to utilize the same muscles as the back squat. Those are going to be the quads and the hamstrings, the semimembranosus, semitendinosus, biceps femoris, vastus lateralis, vastus intermedius, vastus medialis, rectus femoris, and the glute max, it's the glute muscle there. So the starting position for the front squat, you're going to see as I approach the bar, I'm going to grasp it with a closed pronated grip, slightly wider than shoulder width. You're going to see I rest the bar on my anterior deltoids, on the clavicles. That's a very important position there. You don't want the weight in the hands at all. You're going to see my elbows are going to be up, parallel with the floor. The elbows parallel to the floor is a very important cue there. You're going to see as I unrack the weight, I'm going to flex the knees and hips. I'm going to make sure my back is completely neutral and not flexed or extended. I'm going to unrack that bar with my knees and hips. So I'm going to take a step or two back. I'm going to place my feet about shoulder width apart, slightly wider than shoulder width is the requirements there. Toes placed slightly out. And then as I go into the downward movement phase, I will flex the knees and hips at an equal rate while the knees track over the toes. Very important there, as well as the heels remain in contact with the ground throughout the entire movement. You want to continue flexing the knees and hips until you see that quad angle is parallel to the ground. I go a little past parallel there. I do not need to go that low. As you can see, I go so low that I compromise my neutral spine. You'll see a little butt wink at the bottom here. That's poor form. So, as well as you can kind of see my knees track in over the inwards, which is bad. You want to maintain lateral pressure. You want to track them out over the toes. So then as we go into the upward movement phase, you'll see I extend the knees and hips at an equal rate. You'll see I keep my head, chest, and elbows up. I'll never let those drop. And all other things on the upward movement, I keep the heels on the ground throughout the entire movement. You do not flex the torso around the back. That neutral spine to the entire movement is extremely crucial. And as I re-rack the weight, I want to make sure that I squat down, flexing the knees and hips. I'm not resting the weight on the rack with my back. And that's about all I got to say on that. So yeah, that's the front squat. All right, so the bench press. The bench press is going to be a horizontal press push exercise. The muscles when completing a bench press are going to be the pectoralis major, the anterior deltoids, as well as the triceps brachii. The starting position, you'll see I position myself under the bar at eye level. You'll see I grasp the bar in a close pronated grip here, slightly wider than shoulder width. You can see I initially start with the 5 points of contact. That 5 points of contact is going to be crucial through all the phases, through unracking, re-racking, pretty much through the entire bench press. I'm going to maintain the 5 points of contact. So the 5 points are my 2 feet. It's going to be my hips, as well as my shoulders and upper back, and my head. So I'll point that out again in a second. But so as you can see, I unrack the weight. I'm going to extend the elbows, pushing the bar over the chest. Then going into the downward movement phase, I'm going to lower the bar with the wrists and with the wrist stiff and the arms perpendicular to the ground. I'm going to lower the bar to the nipple line, maintaining all 5 points of contact, both feet, the butt, the back, and the head. Then I'll do the upward movement phase, and in the upward movement phase, I push the bar up and slightly back until the elbows are fully extended. The wrists are stiff, the arms are perpendicular to the floor. I maintain all 5 points of contact throughout the entire upward movement phase, the 2 feet, the butt, the back, and the head. Extremely important. As I re-rack the weight, you'll see I maintain my hands on the bar until the bar is motionless. You don't want the bar to have any motion with your hands off of it. You want a nice, firm, and tight grip until the bar is motionless on the rack. You want to make sure not to arch your back or let the chest rise. You want to make sure maintain all 5 points of contact once again there, both feet, the butt, the back, and the head. And you want to make sure that bar path is straight. You can see I do a great job with my bar path right down to the nipple line and straight up over the chest. And yeah, that's the bench press. The deadlift. The deadlift is going to be the last lift I'm going over. Deadlift is going to be a hip dominant pull exercise. The deadlift is going to utilize the gluteus maximus, the semimembranosus, semitendinosus, the biceps femoris, the vastus lateralis, the vastus intermedius, the vastus medialis, and the rectus femoris. Those are the quads, hamstrings, and the glute muscles. So the starting position for the deadlift, I'm going to start with the feet shoulder width apart, shoulder to hip width apart, a little bit shorter than the back squat, or narrower than the back squat. And I'm going to grasp the bar in a closed pronated grip. I'm going to grasp the bar at about shoulder width apart. And I'm going to want to make sure my back is neutral. I'm going to make sure my scapulas are depressed. I'm going to make sure my chest is up and out. I'm going to make sure my head is in line with the vertebrae. Make sure my heels are in contact with the floor throughout the entire movement. I'm going to make sure the shoulders are over the bar and my eyes are focused forward and up. Now, I also want to make sure that the bar is about an inch from the shins. And yeah, so that's going to be the starting position there. So then we're going to go into the upward movement phase. So after watching my form over and over again, after critiquing my form, I realized I utilized more of a stiff leg deadlift, which is not exactly what I was going for. I was going for the more traditional deadlift. So I'll highlight where I look bad and where I have poor form. So for example, in the upward movement phase, you can already see my hips are much higher than they should be. My hips are almost parallel with the shoulders. You want the hips lower than the shoulders and the shoulders higher than the hips. But either way, I do maintain a neutral spine. I'm going to make sure my elbows are fully extended, my shoulders are over the bar. I'm going to make sure my hips don't rise before the torso, but either way, my hips are way too high. It's more of a stiff leg or straight leg deadlift there. More things in the upward movement phase. My heels are going to be in contact with the ground the entire time. And yeah, you just want to extend the knees and hips to get the bar off the floor there. So then in the downward movement phase, I'm going to allow my hips and knees to flex slowly until the bar is at the floor or until the back or the torso is flexed or not neutral. You want that back nice and neutral and flat. So common mistakes is the back rounding, that torso to ground angle, which is kind of what I struggle with there. My torso to ground angle is terrible. I start with it flat, and then I go all the way up. One way I'm going to change that is by starting with the hips lower, start with the knees a little bit more flexed. That way I'll allow for my chest to be way more up. My vertebrae to start at a much higher degree, which will make it so I can maintain that throughout the entire movement. So that is the deadlift.